When one thinks of a trainer, one usually thinks of what is sometimes called a stand-up trainer. That is someone who is ready to get up in front of other people and explain to them what it is that they need to know. A lot of work goes into that, starting with the needs assessment of what the group that's congregated needs to learn. It goes on to preparation in terms of how to set objectives and design a training that's suitable for those people. And one needs to say that a trainer is very often not an expert in the area that they're training. An example that's sometimes used is that someone has to teach people how carburetors work in a car, and a trainer may know nothing about carburetors or nothing about cars. But if that's what the people need to learn, then they have to research and develop and prepare the lesson plans, the learning objectives, the various steps. And that may involve a lot of debriefing of people who know about carburetors and so forth. But the time will eventually come when you need to stand up in front of people and tell them how a carburetor works. And that's what we're talking about really here, because the sort of standard, if you like, that seems to be so well known is a lecture. It may come in different forms. It's not a sermon, which you'd find in a church from a pulpit. That's another kind of public speaking. It's not a presentation, which is another kind of speaking in front of people. A presentation will often have slides or perhaps a media projector that you're just following the PowerPoint bullets, the objectives through there. But speaking on your own, lecturing, that's quite a skill. Now, one has to think about, in different techniques, what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages, because in this study unit we're looking at different techniques that are used by trainers. I think it's safe to say, though, that all trainers are sooner or later going to need to be able to do some public speaking, and what we're learning in this topic is how that works, what doesn't work. Tips like that you shouldn't keep your most important point to the end, as some people think. You should actually give it at the beginning, because we find that people, in terms of the learners, the listeners, are most attentive at the beginning. Then interest drains away, and often it comes back a bit towards the end of the lecture, but in fact people are most attentive at the beginning. So this topic is about learning things about public speaking, being a stand-up trainer, being able to look people in the eye and say, here's the preparation I've done for you, here's what you need to know. And that doesn't mean that we're saying that we are the experts or that we have all the knowledge. In fact, one word for trainers is facilitators, and very often some of the skills are in giving away the power of being a lecturer where everything is concentrated in the hands of the trainer, and finding out from the people we're working with what it is that they know already and so forth. And so it is that maybe we, if we're fast on our feet, will be able to pick up quickly just a few little gaps that we could offer to people who already know a lot, and that's the thing that as adults they'll learn and take home that day. Because we know that adult learning is different from teaching, which is pedagogy, and the key is that lectures have a way of getting a lot of information across in a short time to a relatively large group of people. You can lecture to hundreds of people at the same time. It's not possible in a workshop to work with 100 people, and workshops just take time. They take longer. It's a process of learning, whereas a lecture or a sermon or a presentation can come at people very strong and very quickly with a lot of information. So they certainly have their advantages, but they certainly have their disadvantages too, because for adults, one tends to reach the absorptive capacity very quickly, the limits of being able to take in more, a saturation point. And we have to be careful and actually look at what the other techniques are that will help adults to learn by discovery.